Mate, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate you coming on the podcast.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me. It's great to finally see a face to a name.
I mean, I as soon as I heard, are you okay with starting this right now, or would you like to have a little chat first?
No, absolutely fine. You just record it as you wish. Yeah, I'm fine.
Right, lovely job, excellent. Yeah, as soon as I heard about what you'd done, I was like, oh my God, I've got to get him on the podcast. I had people actually messaging me saying, you need to get this guy on. And I've got to admit, I hadn't heard about what you were doing at all. It had totally gone by my radar.
Yeah, it had been kept very quiet to start with until we had actually started it and finished it. I mean, it's been kept very quiet really since we finished it for some reasons, but yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think for people that are listening or watching, folks, this is Dean Coxson. Dean, can you welcome for starters? But can I just pass it to you to begin with, just to introduce yourself and just say a little bit about what you've done, and then we can dig straight into it and start having a good chat.
Thank you for spending your time listening to me. I'm Dean Coxson. I was one of the two riders with Santhosh Kumar from Royal Enfield that rode the Himalayan from what was going to be 86 degrees south, but turned out to be 87 to the South Pole. Yeah, fantastic achievement. Certainly different to my everyday role at Royal Enfield.
Absolutely. You heard that right, folks. Dean and Santhosh, they rode two Himalayans to the South Pole, like to the South Pole. Wow. How did this come about? I mean, how did you obviously you're the senior engineer, aren't you, at Royal Enfield? Is that right?
I'm a senior development engineer, yes, predominantly engine biased. But yeah, how did it come about to me? It's still a mystery, to be honest. Initially, I think I was just going to go out as travelling technical support because of my background and past experience. But then that involved that one of the guys dropped out, and it was then you're riding as well. So yeah, why not?
Why not? Oh, I've disappeared. Can you? Sorry, I've just noticed that my video's just gone. Oh, it's back now.
Oh, you're back now.
Oh, it's gone. Oh, it's done this again. I'm sorry about this. It did this on one of the last podcasts. The actual camera gave up, and now it's using this one up here. So I'll swap to that.
It's not a problem.
Right. Yeah. So you weren't actually in the saddle initially, so to speak. Then it was just fate that put you in there.
I'm led to believe so. I've not asked too many questions, to be honest with you. I've just sort of got on with it and took it on board. And like I say, I was offered it, and you can't turn something like that down. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. You're never going to get it again. So yeah, I'll go.
What runs through your head, not just as a person, but as an engineer? What runs through your head when someone goes to you, we want to take two motorbikes, two Himalayans to the South Pole? I mean, how do you start with something like that?
It's not to fail. You've got to succeed. You're not going to get a second opportunity. That's it. And then you've just got to really settle down to it and sort of tap on your past experience of what modifications and start preparing, really. And then take it from there, a little bit of testing and get on with it.
So, I mean, like what sort of things do you have to take into account for a trip like this? Obviously, there's the cold. I mean, we were talking, is that right? You were down to something like, was it minus 60 with wind chill? Is that right?
Minus 50 with wind chill, yes.
Minus 50.
Yeah. It's quite warm on the coast.
Yeah.
Which is where we land into, well, say quite warm. It's -7, but it feels quite warm. You end up walking around in a T-shirt after you've been on the pole because it feels warm to that. But,
wow.
Yeah. But the things to think about, I don't know. You sort of put it to your mind and just think about what you've got to do because no one's ever done it. Mm-hmm. And you can't really prepare for every eventuality. So you just got to go with the flow, really, which is what I did. My biggest concern was will the bike start? I mean, there's no calibration on bikes to that sort of temperature. I think cars are calibrated down to either -42 or 47. but a bike's not. I mean, who in the right mind's going to ride a bike in that temperature? But,
true.
Yeah, that we had plans afoot to try and confuse it to thinking it was warmer than it was if the issue arose, but it didn't. So, yeah.
So, like in terms for the non-engineer out there, me mainly, when you say calibration, what are you talking about there when you say it's not calibrated?
It's for the amount of fuel that it needs injecting, for the air that's going in, and also the temperature of the air. It's all a contributing factor. I mean, it's hard to explain, but yeah, it just stops at -10 and off it goes. But yeah, it seemed to have so no problems.
And what about things like, you know, I know a Dutch guy, Jacques Lucassen. Have you heard of Jacques Lucassen?
I haven't.
He's trying to ride a modified R1 to the North Pole. He's already done one attempt,
right?
And basically, he was having to carry a couple of big sledges behind him on the R1, which were full of fuel, but the fuel froze. So,
yes.
And I think there were quite a few other issues which he hadn't taken into account, or just hadn't been taken into account at the time. So they've redeveloped the entire bike, everything about the bike, and I think he's planning on going again. When, I'm not sure. But yeah, he had problems with the fuel freezing. So did you have a similar issue, and how did you combat that?
No, we didn't, because the bike, because of the logistics of it and COVID, the two support trucks are based at a place called Novolushka or something like that. It's a Russian base camp.
Right.
So we had to go into the South Pole the long way initially, because normally you'd go in from either Union Glacier or Australia's side, but the trucks were there at Novolushka. So the Russians were kind enough to supply us with air petrol that they use out there, which is suited and got the additives in to stop it freezing or gelling for that temperature. So we was lucky, and that was always the plan there anyway.
Wow. Okay. So there's actual special fuel. I didn't realize that. So there's actual adapted fuel that will allow you to operate in that.
Yes.
Okay. I tell you what, we haven't cracked open the beer. Do you have a tipple for this evening?
Already started.
Good lad, like that. Right, excuse me, I'll just crack this one open. That was a grenade. Anyone that watches this podcast regularly will be aware that I have grenade beers. So it's like 1 in every 10 just explodes when you open it. So yeah, that was a close one.
That was one disappointing thing on the trip up there. The beer actually froze in the can, and when it blew the tops off.
No, really? So you couldn't even celebrate when you got there?
Well, we did, because there was champagne there from the thing, but yeah, the beer froze and the brandy went like treacle.
Nightmare. What a night. That's what is it? Piss poor? No, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Is that what
something like that? So on that note, you could say it was a piss poor performance. But yeah.
Someone failed on their planning there, didn't they? Right, Dean, I'm not sure if you know how this podcast works. I keep looking at this camera. I need to look at that camera. I'm not sure if you know how this podcast works, mate, but the way I do things is I post up on, I have a Patreon, like a community thing going. Right. Called The Clan. So I post up on that to let people know who is the next guest, and I do the same thing on my Instagram and on my Facebook. And then people have the opportunity to post up some questions for us in the comments, and we can just run through them. Sometimes they've got something to do with you and what you've done, and other times they're totally random. So if you're up for dealing with them, right, okay. I'll warn you, I don't often pre-read the questions because I like them to be as much a surprise to me as they are to you. But I will have a quick scan just to make sure, because I've been caught out in the past. Right. Okay, right. Charlie Callard. This is over on Patreon, patreon.com/TeapotOne. Charlie Callard, first one. Evening all. Hope you're all fit and well. So that's an amazing feat and a hell of an accomplishment. So my question, why the Royal Enfield Himalayan? Keep them shiny side up. Now, obviously, you work at Royal Enfield, but why the Himalayan in particular?
It's the only adventure bike we do. So it was the perfect choice, really. I mean, yes, it would have been nice to do it on one of the other models, but I'm sure they're all capable of doing it. But this one was just ideally suited. And for how do I word it? For such a good value for money little bike, it needed proving what it's more than capable of.
Yep. Yeah. There are so many people in the overland world who choose the Himalayan to take, and they do it for a variety of reasons. I think initially it was probably because it was something different. It wasn't the GS, but then, as you just said there, it's a really good value for money bike, isn't it? And it's proven itself time and time and time again that it just does the job. It's taking people to Everest Base Camp. It's taking people across deserts. It's taking people to the South Pole. It's going everywhere.
Yeah, it's just like the old bullet, for the cliche word. It just plods on and does exactly what you want it to. Sorry,
apologies, I interrupted. There's a little bit of a delay sometimes on this. I'm sorry, mate. After you.
No problem. I think I've finished anyway.
You said there might be other bikes within the Royal Enfield route. What other ones would you
You've got
take?
The new Scram that's out. I mean, that'd be an ideal one, which is because it's basically a Himalayan anyway. That'd be an ideal one, but that wasn't out at the time, so this was the one chosen.
So is that one going to the North Pole next then?
I don't know what's happening, to be honest with you. It'd be a nice thought, but it's quite difficult to get there now, isn't it? Because of the thin ice, apparently.
Allegedly. Yeah. Blimey, yeah. I mean, Antarctica itself, that couldn't have been an easy trip to facilitate, because there's not only is it geographically a bit of a struggle to get there, but there's all sorts of politics and everything else that's associated with it.
There's an awful lot of politics. I mean, there's two companies really that run it that you have to go through to get in there, either if you're going skiing or climbing the mountains or whatever. And for this, which is either a company called ALE or ALSI, which is either South Africa or American, you have got to go through them. But I'm surprised they did let us in with the way the world's going on this fossil fuel malarkey.
Yeah. What was the reason then that Royal Enfield decided we're going to do this? I mean, is there something? Was there some sort of impetus behind the whole project, or is it just a case of let's see if the Himalayan will do it?
It's not something I can answer you truthfully. It was Santosh's brainchild originally, and I think the company went for it because last year was our 120th anniversary of continuous production, and they thought it would be a fitting way to try and attempt and achieve something that hadn't been done. So, that's how it got the go-ahead, really.
I was trying to find a way of getting in touch with Santhosh, but I couldn't find him on any social medias or anything because I thought maybe I should have actually approached you. Thinking about it, I should have said, "Do you have a contact for him?" But
I have a contact, but he's very slow at getting back in contact. If you know what I mean.
Okay, gotcha.
But I don't mind passing that on.
Well, I mean, it would be awesome to chat to him. I'm hoping to try and get to India at some point next year if I can, for maybe just do a week or something over there. So, it'd be great to chat to him and have a chat about the biking sort of community.
Well, he's actually living in America now. So,
oh, is he? Oh,
yes, I think he's got a house in Texas. He's recently moved over. So, yes.
Oh, okay, all right. I read that he was. It must have said he was born in India then. My apologies.
Yeah.
I took it that he was still there. Right. Okay. Next one then. Cheers for that one, Charlie. Next one, Harley. How's it, guys? What sort of prep did you have to do for the bikes, and how did you prevent the fuel from turning to slush? All right. Well, we've covered the fuel side of things. What else do you need to do to the bike?
That was a good question. Obviously, you have to tap on your previous bit. Engine oil is a critical feature. You don't need the viscosity that it's spec'd. You want something low because, again, that's like the brandy. It just turns to treacle. So that would be the first thing you'd change. It's then tyre combinations were the biggest one, which we went over to Iceland for 9 days, testing up on a glacier, just trying different tyres, different studs, different tyre pressures, different sprocket ratios. You just keep trying it until you get something that's actually working. I mean, it was beneficial to us because we had the support of a company called Arctic Trucks, and the guy that was with us, I think he's 6 times now he's been to the South Pole. supporting various things. So you could tap on his experience, and they sort of prepared the glacier we was on to represent the conditions of the snow that you'd be riding on there. So that was a big advantage to start with.
Mm-hmm.
The tyres were the biggest issue.
Right.
I mean,
in what sense?
You was getting too much traction. People say go for studded tyres, which, yes, they work well on ice, but when it's just snow, if you give it too much throttle, it just digs through that frozen crust and digs in, and then you just belly out and come off, sort of thing. You want to I wanted to adopt the approach that their 4x4s used, and what I've used in the past when doing off-road trialing in 4x4s, where tread lightly, you want the tyre to deform and just follow on the top, so you're not actually breaking through the crust. But as you know, the bike relies on its rigidity of the sidewall. So that was the biggest problem.
So I mean, you must have had to drop the pressures to like hardly anything, I'm assuming.
We was down at 2 psi.
Wow. Okay.
And then we did chafe through an inner tube, which I still haven't looked at yet, but I think that chafed through on the rim lock.
Yeah.
So obviously that went down to 0, and that actually worked better.
And you said there about the gear ratios on the sprockets. I'm assuming you're not looking for top end speed on something like this, are you? So
no, for me personally, I went to just reduce the gearbox sprocket by 2 teeth, which meant basically I could just flick it into second, pull off at idle, and just use it like a tractor or a big diesel. It's just dug, and then gradually pick your speed up. Yeah. The moment you put a little bit of throttle on too much, the studs, it would just dig in, and that'd be it. You have to get off and push.
Oh my God. So how long did this actual journey take you then? Not including all the build up and all the research that you went through over in Iceland and elsewhere. Once you actually got to Antarctica, how long does it take to get to the South Pole?
It depends on which way you go. I mean, we initially left November the 19th for Cape Town.
Yeah.
Spent 8 days there for quarantining, and I didn't get back to start to fly back until January the 2nd.
Wow. From
the Russian base camp we stopped at, which is probably the furthest point away from the pole, it was close to 2 weeks travelling in the 6x6 or 4x4, whichever one you was in, to actually get to the pole. And then it was about a 5-day journey down to the Ross Ice Shelf to come back.
Oh, what? So you went to the South Pole in the support trucks, and
yes.
Then what did they set up camp, and then you have to go
there's actually a camp there for visitors that ski to the South Pole. So we had luxury of a heated tent for a night, which was great.
Oh, wow.
And like I say, then we drove down because we initially wanted to start from 86 degrees south, which was the Ross Ice Shelf, but we hit storms going down, so we had to stop for 24, 36 hours. But then we weren't allowed to continue, which was at 87 degrees. It was right on the border of 87 degrees south to 86. But we weren't allowed to continue. I mean, it was that bad, you wouldn't have got the 4x4s down there, let alone got a bike back. So that was the decision made. We've got to start from here. And we just went for it.
Pardon my ignorance, but what is the significance of 86 degrees then? What was the sort of the reasoning?
That's the edge of the land where we wanted to follow the route that Scott took.
Yeah.
86 is the latitude, whichever one it is,
one of them,
of where the land meets the ocean. But obviously the ocean's frozen at that. It's still frozen at that point. So that's the significance of that.
Gotcha. That actually leads on to the next question, which is asking about this. Stu L says, "Evening all, hope this question finds you both fine and well. I'm currently reading a biography on Shackleton, and he describes this trek across the South Pole as a frozen hell. What was the most difficult thing you encountered on the bikes? Was it the cold, the terrain, or the loneliness?"
It wasn't any of them on the bikes, to be honest with you. It was actually a pleasure to get on the bikes after spending so long in a 4x4 waiting for it.
Well, just to get going.
Just to get going, yeah, because that's what we were there for, basically. So I just wanted to get going. The worst bit for me was it was more mentally challenging than physical.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In what sense?
I don't think I was just prepared for it. I mean, you leave the coastal line, it's got to be 80 to 100 mile from the coast travelling inland. You've got mountains, you've got peaks, there's undulations, there's like visual reference points. Mm-hmm. After that, it is just flat. It's the equivalent from driving from my home to Sicily on the flat with no hedges, no birds, no mountains, no hills, just the horizon that doesn't get any closer.
I suppose, yeah, you're going to have you'll have no sensation of progress, will you? There's no reference there.
And it's made worse by it being 24-hour daylight and the sun is always in the same position.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the idea was we would drive and we're supposed to sleep what would be midday, because that's when the sun's at its warmest and would give the tents some temperature to sleep in. But with the delays, that never happened. We was travelling like 24, 25 hours at a time, stopping for 4 or 5 hours, getting back in the trucks and off again. So you just lost complete sense of what day it was, what time it was, and it just messes with your head.
God, yeah, I mean, how can you possibly prepare for something like that? Is there anywhere else in the world that has those sorts of conditions?
I have no idea.
There can't be.
Whether the Arctic's daylight for 24 hours at some point. I did go into the Arctic Circle this time a couple of years prior to that, and that was pretty much 24-hour daylight, apart from about an hour around midday, 1 o'clock time, where it went light grey.
Yeah. I remember when I was in Norway. I was in Norway during the summertime, like late June, and once you get up above the Arctic Circle, it is 24-hour daylight. I was just thinking about, as you just said there, about the combination of the cold, the 24-hour daylight, the flat, featureless surroundings. There's only really going to be the poles, isn't it? It's the two extremes, North and South Pole, but the only place where you're going to be able to experience that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's hard to explain. I think you've got to experience it to understand it.
And how long were you in those conditions for then?
I think it was 11, 12 days. I think we was actually travelling from the Russian base camp to the pole.
Yeah.
I think we then spent just a couple of nights actually on the South Pole whilst I did some repair work to the trucks. And then we set off again for the Ross Ice Shelf.
What, did you ride? You had to ride to the ice shelf as well? Or
no, they were transported on trailers. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. What was the feeling like then to actually... Like, I mean, what does the South Pole look like? Is there a physical pole there to mark South Pole?
It's very underwhelming when you get there. Is it? It's a wooden pole that's painted in old barbershop colours with a chrome ball on it.
Right.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's two poles. There's a ceremonial one, which is what everyone sees. And the actual geographic pole is within the American base station's land or perimeter. So you need permission to go to that, which we did actually get. So yes.
Wow. You see, I had that in my head that's what the South Pole would look like, is that sort of red and white pole. I must have seen a picture of it. I'm assuming I must have seen a picture, because that's what's in my head of what it looks like. And I wondered, is that actually what it is?
It is. You put all that effort in to see a red and white painted pole with a chrome ball on it. There's not even any inscription on the chrome ball or any to make it look like the globe or anything. It is just a chrome ball.
It's like Land's End. You get there and you've got to pay 30 quid for a picture. Yeah,
that's it. Why did I bother, sort of thing?
Yeah. Oh, man, it's incredible. How have you been since you came back then? What, I mean, has this... Were you that sort of adventurous person before you went, or has it changed you and made you like that, or has it had any impact at all?
It's had no impact at all, really. I'm back into my normal day job and carrying on with it. It's not. It could be classed as my worst nightmare, to be honest with you, because I'm more a hot climate and 4-star hotel minimum. So going to the minus temperatures in a tent is not me. So well out of my comfort zone.
But you must be glad you've done it. I mean, has anyone else in the world ridden to the South Pole?
I don't think ridden. I know there was a Japanese guy that did something on a motorbike there, but you keep hearing he didn't ride or he just rode round the pole. So I don't know what the truth is behind that, but
right.
Yeah, that's as much as I know.
I mean, like, effectively, you're one of 2 people in the world to have accomplished that. I mean, that's got to be a nice little feeling, that.
It is a nice feeling, but you've got to keep your feet on the ground, to be honest. I suppose that might change when the film or documentary come out, because we did have 2 media guys with us and it was filmed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the whole duration. So
awesome. That was going to be one of my questions, because as soon as I found out about this, obviously I'm on Google, I'm on YouTube, I'm trying to find, and there's just short little like minute-long segments, and I was just like, there must be a movie about this. So it's coming.
There's one coming.
Brilliant.
I believe it's been produced by the Top Gear team.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, can't wait to look forward to seeing it, to be honest with you. And I have heard rumours, now whether it will come off, that there's a 6-part documentary going to be coming out as well, but we'll just wait and see. You never know what happens.
Hollywood could be calling, Dean. Hollywood.
Nah.
Nah, don't fancy that.
It's like when it first happened, the biggest problem you got is a lot of the mainstream media won't touch it because it's fossil fuels on the... They don't want the repercussions of it, so...
Yeah, that was what I was sort of alluding to when I first brought it up, is that it is a real hot potato, isn't it? It's a real hot topic. I know some people in the overland world, you know, who've been on these round the world journeys, adventures, and a lot of people, it's like the Holy Grail. A lot of people want to get their bike onto Antarctica just to say they've ridden on it, but it is so hard to do.
It is. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But if you get the opportunity, grasp it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're one of 2 people, and let's be honest about this, chances are that will probably never, ever be added to. Probably never, ever will get anybody else to go and do something like that.
No, that's the way I look at it, to be honest with you. I don't think they will, because the way I'd look at it is, why would a manufacturer want to do it again, because it's already been done, and they'd be second best sort of thing. But
yeah, wow,
yeah, time will tell, I suppose.
You are like the most reluctant sort of. I'll not say celebrity, but you're something special. You've done something special.
Thank you.
You can see you're just like, well, I understand. Yeah, all right, it's done.
Yeah, you got to keep your feet planted.
Right, next one. To Bob Rocket. Following on from the last podcast, what was your layering like? How good was the night sky? Right, yeah. I think it was the last episode, or maybe the one before that, I had 2 chaps, Ed and Mick from Halversons, on, and they were talking all about base layers and the importance of wearing the right kit underneath your external protective kit. Something that I had never, ever, ever appreciated before. Having since chatting to them, both myself and loads of people that listen to the podcast, we've all gone and got ourselves base layers, and everyone's trying this base layer lark out. And for me personally, it was brilliant. I found myself not too hot when it was hot. I've just been down in Spain a couple of weeks ago, riding down there, and it was like 25 degrees once you came down out the mountains, but it was 11 degrees when you were up in the top of the mountains. So you've got not extremes, but, you know, different sort of temperatures there. And I found layering really helped with things like that.
Yeah, it certainly helped. That's what was recommended to us. I mean, no one could really say, because no one's done it before, and the company or no one stipulated you've got to wear this. It was just left up to us, really.
Right.
So I took the advice of the guys from Arctic Truck and like yourself. wore the base layers and then a mid layer and an over trouser. And then the actual riding kit, I took various options so I could switch and change to see which worked the best, really.
Dionysi one-piece leathers. Yeah, that's what you went for.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah. Riding across the pole like a Power Ranger.
Absolutely.
No, I went for the Rucker Arctic trousers, which is what I used when testing up in the Arctic Circle for a different project. I used the same on the top half of your body, like a base layer and a mid layer. And then I used a heated Kaish jacket under me standard Dionysi riding jacket that I use and still use today.
Yeah.
I mean, that jacket was fantastic. It got that warm, you had to turn it down. I mean,
I've said that. Like I was lucky. I got given a load of stuff by Kaish to try, and I've got to admit, I kind of thought everything was a gimmick, other than, or it was just faff. Other than that jacket, the jacket is just amazing. It's
fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to treat myself to the gloves because I used another brand's heated gloves and socks, and it was like not having them switched on. It just didn't touch the temperature at all.
I kind of felt like that with the Kaish ones. They just didn't do the job for me at all. Yeah, the socks were quite good. I had the socks, but what I found with the socks was once you were on the bike and you were moving around on the bike, if the wire became dislodged at all, like I think there was 2 wires, one for each sock from what I recall. There must be, and even if one was dislodged, I think that stopped both socks warming up, or even if it didn't, you ended up with one really cold foot and one okay foot-ish. But it wasn't like you were, the jacket really heats up, doesn't it? And as you said, you have to turn it down. The gloves and the socks, I think maybe they take the chill off, but that was about it with me. I'd much rather have good heated grips and thin gloves, and then I can feel the heat then, personally.
Well, in them temperatures, it didn't even take the chill off. I resorted to a standard pair of Rucker gloves that I used, like I say, in the Arctic Circle, and they were far superior. For
Did you have heated grips?
No.
Oh.
It was talked about, but I normally ride with my fingers and my left hand over the clutch lever, so it only warmed the palm of my hand anyway. But we resulted in putting a muff on the left-hand grip, which worked. That took the chill off.
Yeah.
The helmet was a big issue. I used a full face Chewy flip front with a pin lock in it, but that just instantly iced up.
Wow.
So I resorted to having it as an open face with a flip front up and put a pair of skiing goggles on and rode like that. And that worked perfect.
Like what, with your whole, I mean, obviously you must have wrapped your face up and stuff, but
I just put a Nomex balaclava on.
In minus 50.
Yeah, Nomex balaclava, helmet over the top, and then the goggles, and it worked.
Wow. I can't wait to watch this. I really can't wait. I've watched some of the stuff on YouTube, but I can't wait to watch the full edited sort of docu on it, or the series.
It was old school, really. Old school British grit. Just get out there and do it and suck it and see sort of thing.
Get on with it. Fantastic. Cheers for that one too, Bob. Next one, Chris Kemp. Hi guys, hope you're all good. I have a couple of questions this week, if that's okay. Of course, man, no worries. Is there, or will there be a series of feature-length film of the trip? I've had a look through your website and Royal Enfield YouTube channel, but can only find 1 or 2 minute short vids. Well, we just covered that. Yes, it is coming. For anyone that is listening or watching and wants to get a little taster of what this is about, then again, I will leave all the links down below, and I'll leave links to the whole YouTube channel that covers this. And there's little 1 to 2 minute long wee vids that you can have a look at. The next part of Chris's question, I rode a Himalayan at Motorcycle Live Show Adventure Course last week, and that got me fired up, so I'll be looking for a deal after Christmas. I've been contemplating one for a while. I have a Royal Enfield dealer 5 minutes down the road from me. They're cheap, reliable, look good in my opinion, and will be perfect as a second bike for my needs. So I have no excuse for not already owning one. The only thing that's put me off up to this point is the small capacity. There's been rumours of a 650cc Himalayan coming for a while now. Can you share any inside info?
No, I know nothing about that at all, to be honest with you.
Do you play poker? Dude, do you play poker?
No, I don't. I've heard a lot of public have been calling for one, but I know nothing about it.
Watch this space, I think, Chris. Watch this space. Next one, Lee Vigor. How you doing, Lee? Hi, all. I hope all is well. What was the one thing you didn't take that you wish you had? And what was the next best item or piece of kit you did take?
Oh. Probably another bottle of brandy. I took one bottle, but I don't think it was enough.
Who was responsible for looking after that bottle of brandy?
Me, because I bought it.
Oh, so it was with you on the bike?
No, it was in the support truck that was travelling at the side of us. But yeah, I bought it from the airport on the way out. So yeah, I was looking after that.
Oh, so I take it wasn't in the cab then. It was outside, exposed to the elements.
It was outside, exposed to the elements. Yeah.
What a nightmare! Is there anything else then? Is there anything else like practically on the bike other than the brandy that you wish you had with you?
As silly as it may sound, and it goes back to one of the earlier questions, I wish there was proper hot water and somewhere to have a shower. Even just a makeshift shower tent would have been amazing.
So what was your sort of daily routine then when you were out there?
It was mainly just sitting in the trucks and sharing the driving until we'd reached the destination we wanted to. That was 20.
So when you were not riding on the bike, you were having to sit in the truck, or how?
It was in either a 4x4 which we had with us or a 6x6, and we shared the driving in those. You was maintaining those, refueling them. So yeah, you wasn't just sitting down waiting to get on. And then when you got to your stop point, you had to put up the base camp, put up the kitchen tent, dig some snow to melt to make some water to warm your ready meals up, and yeah.
So how many hours a day were you riding then for that trip to the pole itself?
Well, actually on the bike?
Yeah.
Well, we did it in one go.
This is what I was meaning then. Your typical day, not like when you were riding to the south to the pole to set up the camp and then went back to the shelf. I mean, from the shelf back to the pole on the actual let's ride, let's go. What was your day like?
Full on. Like I said before, you didn't know how long you was riding for because you've got no visual points. Everything's the same. Mm-hmm. And it was left up to us how long we rode for. You rode for, I'm feeling cold, or God, I can't hold this bike up anymore due to the physical pounding of the terrain. You'd then just stop, get in the truck, and Santhosh would then get on the bike and do exactly the same. But it was decided when this is the point we are now going to leave to go for the pole, because obviously, like I was touched on before, we got stopped because of that storm. When we decided we're going, that storm had turned around. So the idea was we'd ride from where we were halfway to the pole, camp, and then do the next bit the next day. But as this storm had turned around, it was a case of shit or bust, and we're going for it. So it was just a 30-hour solid ride.
Just go, yeah.
Just go 30 hours solid from that point of leaving to reaching the pole.
Oh, so am I correct then? So it was one Himalayan split between you and Santhosh. So you'd ride, then you'd take a break, he'd get on and he'd ride. And
that's correct.
Okay. I had it in my head that you were both on the bikes on like a separate bike kind of thing.
No, there was 2 bikes taken, but it was left up to us whether we decided we're going to use both, or one would just be a spares bike if required. So yeah, that was it. Just go for it.
I saw in one of the little teaser vids that they've got on their YouTube channel, there was an engineer talking about adapting the front forks to have like sledge skis either side
yes.
of it. That. Did you use that?
They are adapted. We had some aluminium in-house billet machine that clamped onto the sliders. And then we was going to have a ski on the front. The idea was that if the front end dug into the snow, it would only go as deep as what the ski was and prevent you from coming off, which when testing in Iceland, we never had issues with the front wheel digging in anyway, but we said we'd take one. But one of those failed with the cold on the way down. It just fracture cracked. And we never used them in the end because at some point she was riding in a track that was cut by the 4x4's tyres.
Yeah.
If you'd have had the ski on, we'd probably have only left you like 4 inches either side. And with the depth of it, I think the edge of the ski would have dug in the side of the rut, and you'd probably have more chance of coming off that way. So they was never used.
Me again, folks, just a short one this. We are also sponsored this month by the Influencer Store. If you go to TeapotOne.com, you'll go to the shop, check out any of the merchandise that I have available. That is all handled by the Influencer Store right here in the UK. I've got a quick bit of blurb to read out for them, and that is, the Influencer Store helps you build your brand big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design, and there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Make sure you check them out, folks. Head to TeapotOne.com, head to the shop, and you'll be supporting both the Teapot One channel and the podcast right here if you buy anything from the merchandise. So a massive thanks in advance to you, and a huge thanks to the Influencer Store. And we're also sponsored by Ultimate Add-ons. Now, Ultimate Add-ons, they make dustproof and shockproof mobile phone cases and action camera mounts. They will fit just about every single bike out there. Me personally, I always use the Helix strap mount because it means I can easily attach that to just about any bike that I'm riding at that time. I can jump on and off on bikes and just easily unscrew the strap, whack it on the next bike, tighten it all up, and off I go. It's very versatile. I've had no vibration issues affecting my camera using the Helix strap. That's the one that I will stand by and swear by. Been using it about 5 years now. So again, if you head to Ultimate Add-ons, so that's Ultimate with ADDONS, ultimateaddons.com. If you use the code TEAPOT110, so TEAPOTONE with the number 10, you'll get 10% off. And lastly, folks, I just want to say a massive thank you to you. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast, for watching the vids, for commenting, for liking, for sharing, for following and subscribing. It all is a massive, massive help. We're on a bit of an upturn at the moment. The podcast is gathering momentum. The channel is certainly doing really well. So a huge thanks to everybody who's been involved with that. If you want to go that extra mile, then you can always buy some merch over at TeapotOne.com. Or if you really want to get committed, you can join the clan over at patreon.com/TeapotOne. All links for everything are down below, folks. I appreciate any support in any form you can give. All right, then. That's enough with the beg and bowl. Let's get back to the podcast. So, Lee, another part of Lee's question is, he said, what was the best item or piece of kit you did take? So we covered, we've covered what do you wish you did have with you but didn't. What about what you actually did have and it proved to be crucial? That
car-seated jacket. Fantastic. Yeah. And the correct clothing when not on the bike. Yeah.
I imagine something as simple as feeling warm when you're on the bike must be such a plus for your strength of mind and your motivation.
It is. You relax more. And like you say, if you are warm, you don't want to get frostbite or fall off and try and break anything, because that goes through your mind as well, because you're like 2 weeks away from any hospital, minimum of 2 weeks. So that's a long time with a broken wrist in them temperatures. When you put it like that, that is insane, isn't it? When you think about it. It brings it home to you. You don't think about it out there, because if you did, you wouldn't go, I don't think.
There's not, like in this day and age, there are not many places on the planet where you can be that remote. We did have money put down for emergency airlift, but that was only in life and death scenarios, if you was having a heart attack or whatever. But that would only be if the plane could fly because of the conditions. You can't use a helicopter out there because they can't fly because the air's so thin because of the altitude. I was thinking that. I was actually thinking that. I wonder if a helicopter can reach you, but no, it can't. No,
you relied on either a Dakota or a twin-engine Dotter, weather permitting.
Were you aware of all this before you went then? Or is this something that's become a part? You are, and you still chose to go? Fair play to you.
Just push it to the back of your mind.
Yeah. I suppose that's true, though, isn't it? Because you need people like that who just go for it, not irrespective of the risks, but it's a calculated decision, isn't it? I think anyone that takes on like an adventurous type of trip, you are aware of risks, and you have to make that decision yourself to go, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's risks on riding on the public roads over here, as you know, but they're just different risks, and you just got to manage them, really.
Okay, riding over here, what do you ride yourself in the UK? Must be an Enfield, surely.
I don't ride my Enfield, actually. The only Enfield I've got is an old vintage one from classic one from 57. I'm mainly into vintage classic British bikes. That is where my heart is, which I've got quite a few of. So, yeah. What do
you have then?
I'm mainly into the 50s and 60s Triumphs and BSAs, but I do go back to 1927 and 1930 with a couple of Triumphs and an old Sunbeam I had. And everyday use would be either a Motor Guzzi Le Mans or one of the new Nortons.
Oh, okay. What Norton you got?
I've got the Commando 961 Sport, but I'm just awaiting the delivery of the CAF racer now. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What are you thinking about this, about the new Norton then? The renaissance of the Norton brand?
Great. Yeah. Best of luck to them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's certainly an improvement on the Castle Donington ones. It really is.
Yeah, I've not seen them myself, but a friend of mine is another YouTuber called Lamb Chop Rides. He was lucky enough to be invited to the not unveiling, but when the new company took over Norton and they purpose-built the factory and stuff, they invited a couple of the bike press there. So he was lucky enough to be there and to be shown around and be interviewed. He's done a really good video on it, actually. And,
it's a fantastic place.
What a setup.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I've got to admit, I like the look of the V4R, the super bike with the chrome fairing on it.
Yes.
And then they have the sort of cafe racer style version of it, the naked. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love the look of them, I've got to say. Absolutely. You said there about the classic bikes. I was really lucky in that one of my friends, he and his dad, they've got a whole fleet of old classic British bikes, which they've redone. They've totally done them up and they take them out and ride them. And he said to me, do you want to come and ride one? Because it would be, obviously I get the opportunity to pick up brand new motorbikes and go and test them. And he's like, well, you've never ridden one of these. Why don't you come and see what, the original proper British engineering was like? So I did. And I got to take out an original BSA. I think it was they ranged from the early 30s to the mid 50s, I think. One of them was definitely a Douglas Dragonfly, because my dad went, that's the bike I used to have. Right. Like, I didn't even know he rode a bike. But he used to have a Douglas Dragonfly. One was a BSA, and I can't remember. Francis
Barnett.
Francis Barnett, that was the other one. Yeah. I've got the vid on my channel somewhere.
Yeah, I've got a couple of Francis Barnetts myself. But I've just not got around to starting them yet. So
what I loved was my mate Matt. He was just like the startup procedure for these bikes. It was like it was a big long list of things that you had to do, and they had to all be done in a set order. And he basically said, if you screw this up, then we're waiting an hour or two before we can start this bike again.
It won't go. Yeah. It makes you realise what you take for granted now.
Definitely.
Because I've recently had, the last 2 years, I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to ride or drive one of the Royal Enfield quadricycle we have for the London to Brighton run, which is 1901. And
wow,
that's a vehicle with no clutch. It's single speed and one fixed speed when it's in drive. And it makes you realise how far we've come so quickly.
Definitely. There's a picture of you on that on your Instagram, isn't there?
There is some quadricycle pictures on there, yes.
Yeah. I think I used it in my post for this episode on my socials. I took it from your Insta. I'm sure there's a picture of you on that in there. So what was that? A London to Brighton classic car?
It's the London to Brighton, the RSC classic car run. Everything's, the cut-off date's 1904, so it's anything pre-1904.
Wow. pre-1904.
Oh yes, 1904 is the youngest you can have. So
what's the oldest one that somebody's had doing that then?
I don't know. I think there's some 1896, 1897 sort of era cars and bikes. But yeah.
How long does that take you to do?
About 4 hours. We haven't actually completed it yet. I mean, last year was the first time. Well, it only ran for the night before the run, which was the first time since 1956. So it was a tall order anyway. But this year it was the weather. We just called it on that. Yeah, it was torrential rain.
Yeah, because there's no roof on it, is there? You're totally open to the elements sat in that thing.
Yeah, it's the worst of both worlds. You've got four wheels, you get stuck in traffic and get wet.
At least you can listen to the radio. Oh, no, you can't. No, that's right.
No, you can't. No.
Right, okay. Last one of the Patreon questions. Andrew Gralton. Hi, everyone. Hope you have warmed up since your return. My question, what clothing did you use? How much was biker? And assuming a lot was Arctic stuff, how did that impact your riding? All the best, Andy. Well, we've kind of covered that.
Yeah, you've got to balance it as well. You could put everything on, but you still got to think you've got to be able to move on the bike.
Yeah.
So you can't restrict your movement. And then you've also got to bear in mind, you don't want to be too warm, as silly as it sounds. If you start sweating, that sweat automatically just freezes. And that's when your core temperature starts to go. So you end up monitoring it. And obviously you're getting warm working the bike anyway, because the terrain is it's hard work.
At the risk of sounding like a complete idiot, what's the actual terrain like? I mean, is it just deep snow all the time? Or, I mean, does it fluctuate? Does it vary?
It fluctuates. It's nothing like I've seen before. I mean, I did 10 years of off-road trialing in 4x4s.
Right.
Once you're on the ground, you can sort of read and get the feel for how it handles, or the ground behavior, should I say. But out there, no. You vary some flat ice, which is great, which it's solid, but it gives the impression you're riding on slush. It's got that noise and feel to it. And then snowdrifts, like the first one you come to, I'd throttle off, just let the front wheel ease into it and feel how it is. And it'll be soft, and you could just like blip the throttle, sort of work your way and paddle your way through it. You could go 10 meters along, it's another one, and it's just like hitting a brick wall. It varies so much over such a short distance.
And is there any way of determining that, or is it just a case of you'll know when you hit it?
You'll know when you hit it. I tried my hardest to try and read it, but no.
Wow, that's incredible. I know
that's on the plateau, but when you actually got to like Union Glacier, that's a frozen estuary and it's blue ice. It's just the sea that's frozen. That's readable because it is just riding on frozen ice. There's no snow.
And I take it that's when, obviously, your studded tyres and everything, that's when they come into the fore and off you go.
That's where you needed studded tyres. On the snow, I think you could have got away with the standard road tyres without studs in, just at low pressure, yeah.
Wow.
I'd like to give it a go and try it myself. But
well, that leads me on to another question then. Would you do that sort of thing again? If the option arose, the opportunity arose, would you do something like this again? Yes.
I'm getting itchy feet. If you'd have asked me a few weeks after or during it, I'd have put it on the floor. but no, I would now.
What are you thinking then?
I don't know. What's not been done?
Love it. I love it. Yes. It is weird though, isn't it? Like for me, I'll mention it now, folks. Sorry. For me, when I did the round the world trip, I finished it and everyone said, what's next? What's next? What are you going to do next? And there was nothing further from my mind than going away and doing another adventure. I was just like, I've done it. I've done it now. Big tick. Done. Let's move on with life. But you fast forward a year or two, 3 years, 4 years. I'm 10 years now since I left. And it's back with a vengeance. I'm just like, I need something. I need something to push myself here.
Yeah, definitely. There's more to riding a bike than just commuting and fun at the weekend. You've got to do stuff like this, and especially not being an adventure bike rider normally. It's, why not?
So come on, there must be some ideas there. What are you thinking? Have you seen anything that's made you go, ooh, fancy that?
I have, but I can't say yet.
Like it. I've seen stuff like the Mongol Rally. Have you seen that?
I haven't.
So it's almost commercial to an extent, in that there's a company that organise it, and it's for I think it's motorcycles below 125 cc, and cars have to be, I think, below 1 litre. And I think it's something crazy, like you can't spend any more than 500 quid. And you have to there's a starting point somewhere in Europe, and you have to get to the end point. I think it's something like Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. It's in Mongolia anyway. So everyone's at the start point, wherever that is. And then it's just go, see you there. And that's it. You just make your way there on these bangers. And I've seen that and thought, yeah, I fancy something like that. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. Can you speak to my wife for me? Absolutely. Life is too short, for sure. Yeah. Live your life. Right. Okay. That's all the clan questions. So looking at the wrong camera again. That's all the clan questions, folks. So thank you very much to everybody over in the clan. We'll head to Instagram. So this is at TeapotOne Insta. First one we've got here, Mr. Gary Owen. Following on from your last guests, can you confirm if the secret really is the underwear? This is what I mean. Lots of people intrigued by this.
The secret is in that keeping warm.
Did you know about this before you went?
No.
The importance of base? Me either.
No, it was all down to basically just take on board what them guys from Arctic Trucks, who we partnered with to do it, just take on their experience.
So I used to hear about, you see all the base layers, don't you? There's in the biking world, there's a big one at the moment. I think they're called 151s. So they're like all the racers are wearing them. And I genuinely thought to myself, that's just a bit of a gimmick. When you're wearing leathers, it's good to have the base layers because it stops your skin sticking. So it's easier to get on and out, in and out of the leathers. But I had no comprehension of the actual significance with regards to, keeping you cool when it's hot and keeping you warm when it's cold and wicking away sweat.
They recommend going for the natural fibres, to be honest with you, like the merino wool. So we just went with that. And like you say, from 66 degree north, they were, because it's an Icelandic company and was partnered with an Icelandic company. So,
And it did the job. Yeah.
Did the job.
Yeah. I had a pair of merino wool. I don't think I had the bottoms. I had the top for the world trip, and they were brilliant because they can, they don't stink either. You can wear them for quite a long period of time.
Yes.
Days and days in between washing. And then when you do wash them, you can literally just give them a quick wash and rinse out, and they're almost ready to go again, aren't they? They dry so quick.
Washing, there was no washing facilities.
Yeah, okay, fair one. It's not like you could hang them out on the line, is it, where you were?
No, they say do that and it freezes, and then if you just shake them, the ice falls off it and it's dry. Now,
really?
I never did try that, but yeah.
Right, next one, Lee into the Wild. Interesting. I have a couple of questions, please, Bruce. I'd like to know, what was the inspiration, firstly? And secondly, having completed it, how do you feel about your accomplishment now? Well, again, we've kind of covered this, but I mean, I appreciate you were asked to do this via your role within Royal Enfield.
Yes.
I think we kind of covered this earlier. With Royal Enfield, was it to mark the 120 years?
120th year of continuous production, yes.
Mm. So, and they just thought, let's take a Himalayan to the South Pole.
Yes, like I say, that was Santosh's brainchild, really. He'd tell you more behind how he got that idea and notion and started pushing it. I mean, the credit's all to him for sorting that out. So I can't really answer you on that one, unfortunately.
That's incredible. I'd love to chat to him and find out what sparks that sort of an idea. You must. I mean, do you have an interest in going to Antarctica all along, and then you become a biker, and then think, well, let's try and marry the two up, or is it just a question of there's the Antarctic, let's go, let's just do it?
I have no idea. From a guy that was born and lived in India, one of the hottest places, to one that gets the coldest, I do not know.
But then obviously, India has the base to go to the Himalayas and all this sort of stuff. So, there is that whole, that side of the country as well, where
Yes.
it is a really challenging environment on the other end of the spectrum from the heat. Obviously not quite as cold as Antarctica, but yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And Lee, he says, how do you feel about your accomplishment now? Now you are very bashful. Is that the right word? You do downplay it somewhat. Laid back. You downplay it. You do downplay it a lot.
Yeah. Well, you've got to. I think you can't let it go to your head and just ride on it. You got to get on with life and carry on. So yeah.
You do. But I mean, surely sometimes you must. I mean, you're one of two people in the world to do this. That is pretty special. That is really quite special.
If just deep down, if I was to admit it, it's an achievement. We've done it. No one can take it away from you.
I kind of, like for me, for what I did, I'm one of three people in the world to do the round the world trip on a sports bike, on a proper genuine 1 litre sports bike. I did it on a GSX-R, and there's two other guys that have done it on R1s. And in fact, I think Nick Sanders, he's done it on a variety of different bikes. I think he's done it on a Fireblade. I think he's even done it on a Triumph as well, actually, to be honest. But it is, yeah, absolutely.
Especially on the wrists.
Do you know, I didn't, everyone asks me that, but I genuinely didn't have any comfort issues because I was only ever used to riding a Gixxer. I'd only ever ridden GSX-Rs. So, and I was doing 30, 40,000 miles a year anyway. So for me, and I was young and stupid. And, it's just a question of that's what I was used to doing. So comfort wise, it wasn't real. When you got into the off-road stuff and you start to go over rock falls and through deserts, that's bloody hard. But I'm not an off-roader, so whether I was doing it on the Gixxer or a little 250 CRF or something like that, it'd be no different. I don't know what I'm doing, so I'd be falling off and pushing it and dragging it. So
well, for me, honest, I'm not an off-roader.
Isn't that crazy though? And then you look at what you've done.
Yeah, I've done it in 4x4s. My first experience of riding a bike off-road was just inside the Arctic Circle on some preparation work for another project that we never went with in the end. And then this.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. That must make some off-road people sick.
Good.
Right. Where are we? Sean Clifford. Hello, Bruce. Hello, Dean. Love the podcast. Hope all is well for both of you. My question for Dean: what was the hardest challenge during your travels, and how did you overcome it? Also, did you ever feel like turning back? Cheers from Montreal.
Well, I think we've touched on the hardest point, which was the mental approach to it because of the constant daylight. I mean, the way we got through it is you just put your playlist on, or one of the other two guys that was in that truck here, because there was two trucks, so it was free and free. You just listen to music, podcasts, audio books, just general rubbish.
Did you have any major breakdowns either on the bike or on the support trucks? Was there anything that happened where you're like, oh my God, is this it?
Not that was it. There was more issues with the support trucks than there was the bikes, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. One of them kept having injector issues.
Right.
There was a few punctures on the trailer which had to be sorted. I mean, the only problem we had with the bike really was one puncture. Wow. Which is what I touched on earlier, whereas I'm assuming it was the rim lock had chafed through the tube.
When you did the tube, the inner tube on it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few bits of plastic cracked through, plastic embrittlement at that temperature, but other than that, no, they ran a treat. Just did what they were supposed to. Made my job very easy.
How good PR is that for Royal Enfield?
I would say it's fantastic if they do something with it.
Yeah, I'm sure they're just holding off, waiting for this documentary. There must be.
I hope so.
And then it's just going to be red carpets and caviar for you, mate. From then on, Dean, that'll be it.
Yeah.
Be living the Playboy lifestyle before you know it.
Yeah.
Okay, right. That's I think that's all that Instagram wants. Across onto Facebook. Right, yeah, we've got one over on Facebook here. So this one is Gavin Fraser. Cheers, Gavin. Wow, what an adventure. But do you ever feel it was a dream? Was there any time you felt, how did we survive the trip? And what was the biggest challenge of the trip? What was the most important gear you had? And glad you did. Oh, we covered that one. Okay, so biggest challenge out of the entire trip. So we can take from that, not necessarily just being on the ice itself and doing the actual trip to the South Pole, but everything associated with the whole project. What was the biggest challenge for you personally?
The biggest challenge, I think you'd have to say, is wanting to complete it, not to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, it may sound a bit cliche-ish, but you never gave it a failure was never an option or a thought. I don't know what we'd have done if we had a fail because I hadn't thought about it. Because, like I said before, you're not going to get this opportunity again. This is a one hit, and you got to do it.
Yeah. I like, forgive me, Dean, I don't know your personal circumstances. Do you have family? Do you have family around you, or was there
I do. I've got
a support bubble there?
And a dog.
Right. So you have that support bubble from your own family, but I mean, I'm assuming, I know for me, that was fantastic, and I couldn't have done it without them. But it was also almost like an added pressure because I had a little bit of a sticky time initially when I headed off. I had a few issues in Africa, and I had to come back to the UK for a little bit before I went again. Right. And that sense of sort of failure and like you've let people down was horrible. It was horrific. So for me, going again, it almost turned to my advantage once more because I was like, right, I'm not going to put myself in that position again. We're just going for it. We're just doing it. We will not fail at this anymore.
It's also an added pressure as well from them because you actually start to miss them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can be detrimental in a way as well.
What did your missus say? What did your wife say when you came home from work one day and went, they're wanting me to do something at work. I've got to go somewhere with work. I mean, how do you approach all that?
I think she's got used to it now. Just come out and say it.
Right.
I can't remember what her reply was, but yeah.
Probably can't broadcast it on here. Oh, she went, yeah, good, go. How long are you going to be away for?
Yeah, it's just a case of come home because they know how dangerous it can be, and you are vulnerable out there.
So, okay, let's rewind. Sorry, how long do you have?
However long, yeah.
Okay, no worries.
I don't know.
I don't want to take up your whole night. If we rewind a little bit, then, so let's go before this whole Antarctic expedition. What was your sort of biking life? How long have you been riding? What have you done in your biking life?
When can you get a bike license? 17, is it? It's a long while ago now. I've been riding since basically I could ride a bike legally, a 125 upwards. I think. Yeah. 10, isn't it? So I started that on an old BSA Bantam, which I've still got that one. Progressed to my Triumph and a Guzzi and my others. So yeah, it's just been basically road bikes and classic British riding on the road.
Mm-hmm. And are you a tourer? Like, did you tour the UK, or have you been across into Europe and ridden there or anywhere else?
I went across into Europe on the Guzzi for the factory 90th anniversary. That's the only trips into Europe. I actually did Le Mans on my Triumph, but that was hard work. I think that was harder than going to the pole, yeah.
Why is that?
Just that distance on a sports bike, I wasn't used to it. It was painful.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of the classic events with the Vintage Motorcycle Club, a lot of tulip rallies. It's mainly that sort of environment I've been riding in. So, yeah.
Oh, okay, right. And in terms of, like we were talking about, like what next for the future. I know you said you can't say, or you won't say what your next big plans are. All right. So in terms of just like day-to-day riding here in the UK, are you planning on going away on any trips like in the UK, or what do you do?
Not this year. My bikes are off the road now because of the winter. Yeah. Right. I'm not a fair weather rider, obviously, but I've got a bit more respect my vintage bikes, if you know what I mean. But
yeah, no, I get that.
I still ride because I'm on the development bikes every day at work, and so yeah, I still keep me riding in. It doesn't bother me.
How'd you get into that job then? How'd you get into the job with Royal Enfield?
To be perfectly honest, I'm not 100% sure. I've always been research and development, but I've been car based.
Right.
And I got medically signed off from doing that because of my back, because of the weights of the engines, the high torques you have to apply. And I've still got to work. And then this job at Royal Enfield just appeared, doing the same role as I'm in as an engine build at the time. And yeah, just went for it. And I did have reservations at the time of, would it ruin your hobby working on it every day? But no, it hasn't. I've just had more opportunities there than I've ever had and you could ever dream of. So yeah, no faults.
Awesome. How long's that you've been there then?
Well, it's just coming up for 5 years now.
Well, I had it in my head that you've been there for like a couple of decades.
No, well, the tech centre's only been set up in the UK for about 6 years now, I think. 6.5 years at Bruntingthorpe.
Oh, right. Has it?
Yeah.
Oh, God, here's my ignorance. Sheesh. Oh, of course, because they got bought over, didn't they, originally? And it all moved over to India, and then now it's come back.
Yeah, it all moved over to India, and I think the 1972. I think they took full control, and they've been produced there ever since. Production will never come back to the UK, but we've got to say a design, research and development facility. We work in conjunction with exactly the same out in India, which is why you've got the products you have today.
And have you been over there? Have you been over to the?
I've been over several times. Yes, yeah, amazing place. That's one of the best riding experiences I've ever had was in Goa, apart from Antarctica, obviously. But yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you couldn't get two literally almost polar opposites, could you? Riding in Goa and riding in Antarctica. Wow. Cool, awesome. Right, Dean, I'm out of questions, mate. Is there anything that you yourself would like to plug? You know, do you have a website? Have you got socials, a channel? Is there any shout outs you want to give?
I don't. I just post occasionally on Instagram. I'm not a social media type person. I have got better since this event took off. I've got better at public speaking, I think, since it certainly took me out of my comfort zone in a lot of things. But yeah, that's it.
Right, well, folks, I will. I'll leave Dean's. So it's Instagram, isn't it? Are you on Facebook
Instagram
as well?
I am, but I just prefer the Instagram.
No problem. I'll leave Dean's Insta down below. So if you're listening to the podcast, check out show notes. If you're watching the YouTube vid, have a look at the vid description, and I'll also pop in the links there to the website for the whole expedition, which has all the different YouTube vids and things in it. Mate, I cannot wait to see this documentary. I really can't, because
I can't.
Yeah, I know it must be so frustrating to have experienced all this and been part of the whole build up, and then effectively you've completed something incredible, which no one else in the world's ever done, but you're just having to sit tight and wait for this production to be done, and then the whole world can see it. Oh, I can't wait to see it. Some
film work like for marketing purposes before. Some of it you spend hours, and some of it never ever gets aired, and you think, I hope this isn't the same.
Yeah, it's horrible, that, isn't it? I find it when I'm editing my own videos that I've made. You have to be quite ruthless with how you edit. You've got to think outside of your own head and your own emotional attachment you have to the footage. It's like, what makes the best story? What's the best stuff to show people? But anyway, I cannot wait to see it, mate. It's an absolutely fantastic achievement. My hat goes off to you. I doff it. And thank you very much for coming on, mate. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me anytime. And I will
pleasure.
Pass Santosh's email on to you so you can contact him.
That'll be awesome. Love to chat to him as well. Right, brilliant. Okay, folks, hope you've enjoyed this one. Make sure you check out all those links. Make sure you drop Dean a line when you actually finally get to watch this documentary, and let him know what you're thinking. All right, folks, keep doing your thing. Keep getting on out there whenever you can. Look after those that you love. But most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha!
Exactly.